All right, episode 239. Today, we got to let you know that Rocket Mortgage is coming for your clients. Dun, dun, dun. We're going to get started right now. All right, welcome back, episode 239. Today, we are breaking down that Rocket Mortgage. We've talked about it before, but they are coming after your clients. You know, you heard previously that Rocket Mortgage was acquiring Redfin in an all-stock transaction. And Redfin had, I believe it was like 50 million monthly website visitors to their website. So, they were acquiring that real estate brokerage. And then just this past couple of days, or maybe it was late last week, they announced that they are acquiring Mr. Cooper, which is the largest mortgage servicer, I believe, in the United States.
I think it is the United States. I mean, look, I, like a lot of real estate agents, had to look up Mr. Cooper, right? Like, maybe I should know about this being in this industry, but I had to look it up. One, I found out they're here in Dallas, which it's always cool when you find out something's like from your hometown. You're like, dang, that was worth a lot of money. Because when I saw the 9.4 billion, like, because they paid what, $2 billion for Redfin, Rocket Mortgage, when they bought Redfin or whatever.
Roughly.
And I felt like, man, that's a lot. When I saw the 9.4 billion, I was like, what kind of money is in my industry, man? Like, I've said this before, there's so many different ways that this pie gets cut that it was crazy to see that number come across for something like that.
Absolutely. By the way, if this is your first time tuning into the only real estate podcast worth listening to, welcome. If you could hit that subscribe button, whether you're watching this on YouTube, maybe you're on Facebook, because we're not doing this live. We're going to do some tests right now. We're not doing the live version of this at the moment because Facebook is getting rid of all live videos after 30 days of existence.
I wonder if that's just like a data thing on their end, like storing all of that has just become too obscene.
Maybe so. Maybe they're just tired of all the other videos, the worthless ones, other than ours.
Yeah, exactly.
That are stored on there. But and if you're listening on Spotify, you can hit that subscribe button. Leave us a review, 5-star, or on Apple Spotify. So, and then, like, last but not least, but go over to the only real estate group worth being a part of and request access in there. But by the way, Mr. Cooper, which it's an awful name. I hated that name.
It's kind of silly. I hate it when companies give themselves like tchotchke names like that.
They changed it. They used to be called Nation Star, and they changed it. They paid a lot of money to have this rebrand and kind of a think tank of renaming themselves to be more memorable.
And worked to the tune of $10 billion.
Yeah.
What the hell do I know?
My understanding is that they were doing it. I think they were trying to go after more of the purchase business, like direct to consumer purchase, or maybe through the agents. Could be wrong on that, making that completely up. But we've had some friends that work there. At least, Mortgage Mike used to work there back in the day. But they are the largest servicer here in the United States, and that means they got all the data.
Well, and that's the crazy part. I will say, if nothing else, this all of this buying of companies inside real estate has made me much more aware of my industry. Like understanding. We read a stat today that Rocket Mortgage's recapture rate of past clients is 83%. So I was like talking to Jesse. I was like, oh, let me Google how they define like recapture rate. Thinking I thought it was about website views, and it's not about what. 83% of people who use Rocket Mortgage to do their refinance or their home loan use Rocket Mortgage to do their next refinance or their home loan. If you've ever been in a position where you've had to like get people to events or call clients or do follow-up, 83% might as well be 5,000%. It's such an unattainable number of getting people to come back to you that I'm like, they're about to unleash those types of systems on the agent that's going to help agents and the servicer side. It's a pretty big deal.
Well, think of this. What's the stat? And I know you know it off the top of your head. What's the stat that a consumer that says they would reuse their real estate agent again?
I think 80% say they would, and in the teens of percent actually do.
Yeah, like low teens.
Yeah.
Like 13, 12.
It could be 12.
Yeah, 12,
exactly.
13, 14%. And so now we're seeing this 80+% of a recapture rate of keeping it and it never coming back into the lending ecosystem. So that's a big deal. if you run a mortgage company.
Yeah.
And why this matters is, number one, this is going to put pressure on traditional lenders,
Yes.
First and foremost. And, you go into the only real estate group worth being a part of. And I originally posted this right after, it was the next week after we saw Keller Williams take on private equity. And, if you go kind of read the Facebook post, people and agents are just like this. I think this is the downfall of us as real estate agents. Their number one response is, who cares? Just go sell real estate.
Yeah. Get back to work.
Yeah, get back to
That's
work.
the
Head
short
down. Don't look up. Don't listen to the noise. And while I can appreciate it and I understand it, we've said this plenty of times, is that as this industry evolves, right? And I think the old timers, and I'm one of those, I've been in this industry almost 20 years now.
That's wild.
We used to only be worried about the discounters. It was never really about technology, disruption or private money coming in. It was, the discount brokerages are going to just ruin this industry. And it never really happened.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I think that as a whole, we look at this, and I know, Matt, you've said this in the past, so I'm going to use your words, is that, consumers, buyers, people want to work with agents that know the area. Like you use the White Rock area as an example. They're like, Little Forest Hills. They only want to work with the human, the flesh. We're not going to lose opportunities. Well, that is true up until a certain point.
Yeah, I think we've moved a little bit beyond that point now.
Yeah. And so now we're starting to see, all right, is the disruption starting to move really, really fast?
Yeah.
Because eventually, we've always said, someone's going to get it right. Someone is going to come in and disrupt it. And it might not be from a landscape of just the cheaper, quote unquote, discount brokers. It's not going to be from the revenue sharing brokerages. That's not, I was thinking the other day, is like, this is not the revenue sharing model brokerages, which is great for agents.
Great agent attraction, has jack to do with selling houses.
Correct. It didn't disrupt the industry when they're talking about being disruptors, right? And we're part of that as well. And the way that I'm starting to see this now is that, all right, we had COVID. We got used to being a remote workforce. And from the brokerage are kind of evolving into this hybrid model. And now we have AI coming out, and AI getting, implemented quickly. And we still don't know how that's going to shuffle out. But first and foremost, the first domino to fall was really this Rocket Mortgage and Redfin merger.
Yep.
That I don't think is going to just take, a lot of at-bats. It'll take some away. But now when they're acquiring, Mr. Cooper, that has that 80+% recapture rate, if you're a mortgage person, I'm a little concerned right now because, just like we put on here, Matt, this impacts lenders. Lenders are going to feel that heat first.
I think so. I think we've always resisted the people want to work with somebody, and I still think that's true to some degree. The problem is they're not working with somebody in this scenario. What's always been the knock on Rocket Mortgage, right? Just they can't get loans to the table, right? Can we agree that maybe they didn't have some people in the right spots? Now that they've went out and bought some of these companies to fill some of the gaps and maybe some of the things they do, and obviously have been more successful than any of us thought because they just spent $11 billion this month acquiring other companies. Like, we've gotten to a point where Rocket, Redfin, and Mr. Cooper and whatever else they buy, they bring AI into this. They do start taking at-bats away from agents, right? I think they could start taking at-bats away from lenders almost immediately. I think I've overestimated how much people want the one-click experience because it was still compartmentalized. One of the things Brian used to talk about was all these things kind of coming together. I think we're starting to see some of the right pieces of the right puzzles falling into place where it could and probably will be very disruptive.
Now, the major question is, where does this, again, you're listening to this as the only real estate podcast worth listening to. So more than likely, you're a real estate agent, real estate broker. Maybe you're on the lending side. You support some type of industry in the real estate world. I think that where we see it, I believe where we see the disruption first from maybe an impact on fees is going to be on the lending side.
Absolutely.
I believe that, what we'll see first and foremost is that there will be a compression because Rocket already has it. there's AI underwriting. And for the most part, the majority of buyers have
they're going to fit in a box.
Yes. They're an easier to do loan. They're W-2, their salary. They've got, a range of a 680 to 680 plus credit score.
Yep.
They don't have a lot of write-offs, don't have a lot of investments other than their retirement and 401k. Maybe they own a rental house. They got credit card debt and car payment. So we know that. They're the traditional household.
Yep.
AI can go sift through all that document in a matter of minutes. They can pull out and extract all the information they need and upload it to the underwriting platform. And Rocket can offer that one-click mortgage experience tied to the real estate search portal now. And where Redfin lacked is they built a really cool app.
Yeah.
Right? They did a great job on that. Where they lacked is the conversion from viewers into customers and from customers into clients and clients into closing.
Yep.
They just didn't have that high conversion ratio. And maybe that is still they were too early to that game. And the type of caliber of agent that attracted was not the hardcore salesperson who's just going to pound the phones or do any type of sales strategies and tactics to get the conversions, to set the appointments, right? That the Redfin showing agent was getting paid to just show as many houses as possible. Then if that buyer wanted to write an offer, then it would get, promoted up to a buyer's agent, and the buyer's agent would write that offer. And so I think that there was too much of a compartmentalized divisions that hurt the Redfin conversion opportunity.
Well, and they were, they started out as the 1% listing, right? Like that was their whole bid at first before they went away from it. So it's also, we talk about this in real estate. If you're giving a discount up front, right? Like how profitable can you be? Brian used to rail on Redfin all the time about how they were actually terrible, like fiduciaries to their clients, because they're generating leads on buyer end and making 3 times as much from a percentage standpoint on those. I think we live in an era too where data is like what everybody, when we talked about Zillow buying up Dotloop, everybody like got rid of Dotloop because they didn't want Zillow to have their clients' data. They're going to be able to see a lot of moves that buyers make between having the servicing, the mortgage, and the like kind of the consumer stuff all in their data pond. And whatever Rocket Mortgage did that was so amazing with that, being able to dump that into these other 2 companies, that is going to make they're going to be able to see the way consumers react to stuff. Their marketing is going to be on point. Honestly, if I'm a real estate agent, I'm going to go put myself in their ecosystem and steal all of their marketing, or at least start looking at it and seeing how I can change, because I bet you're going to see a lot of really cool stuff specifically coming out of the Redfin end that they didn't have before, because Rocket Mortgage had to take that into account when they bought them.
Sure.
That had to be a huge, that data grab part of it. And what'd you say, 50 million visitors?
A month,
dude, that's insanity,
right? And we're seeing, and Brian would know this. It's a book I read back in 2018 or 2019. I was just talking about data as the new oil.
Yeah,
and we still didn't see it fast enough. We were collecting data. I don't think we knew how to connect all the pieces, and we're starting to learn how to connect it all together.
I think AI is doing a lot of that too. What do you think is going to happen? We know some teams like this who have done it in the past, that they're just lead based, right? Like they buy Zillow leads or whatever. I know Zillow leads have been gone for a little bit, but those types of teams, I feel like that being your number one value prop as an agent or a team, that's going to be difficult, because it's just getting cheaper and cheaper to acquire data. And other people, like you said, are putting the pieces of it together better than you can.
Well, and we're going to touch on this kind of in the coming segments about the platformification.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I can say
Platformification.
Platformification. There we go.
The 2 F's.
Yeah, that really messes it up. But I think what we see here is the disruption first to buyers agents as singular as a whole, right? So like that more individual buyer's agent role. You're running, you're a solo agent. You're not on a team. Maybe you're not on a platform team model, and you're now having to compete. Your sphere's not providing enough business coming through, and if it is, they're still price conscious, right? Your mom and dad still might use you and still trust you on that. Maybe your brother-in-law and stuff like that, but your uncle probably won't. Your nieces and nephews if you're older, and so let's walk you through a scenario of what happens here when you don't have, or maybe you're not in the right alignment with a team or a platform or just a group in general, is that a buyer finds a home online. more than likely they're searching all the portals, Zillow, Trulia, homes.com, Redfin, top 4. And, they just start putting their information out there. And buyer finds a home on Redfin. And instantly it says get it pre-approved for a home loan. Now, that's with Rocket, right? They got the one-click experience. On top of that, do they offer some type of discount to you, Matt, for using, maybe they give you a cheaper rate. Maybe they knock off some of their fees.
New construction builder model. They already do this.
Yep. I was about to say that. And then they say, hey, by the way, Matt, we've got a great agent with our Redfin brokerage that we're going to get you over to. And as you do that, we're able to give you an incentive towards your closing cost. Well, then they never want to come talk to you, or they're going to ask you to try to match it and you can't.
Yep.
And so now that lead capture has then been monetized and retained. And we don't understand that. We looked at it from the open door model. We've been experiencing this kind of tug of war in our industry for a while now. And we saw the iBuyer and everyone talk crap about that. But again, the number one thing is we have to look at this from a top level view, is how many opportunities are now being taken off of your plate.
Yep.
And if your plate is full, you don't care, right? There was a mentor, I can't remember who was talking about this. It may have been back in the day, when I was very new at Keller Williams. I'd go to this training class that Haas Pratt and Todd something put on, and he talked about, you're very generous with your toothpaste on your toothbrush when you first buy it. You just squeeze it all in there. Right? You start to run out, you start to conserve a little bit, but when you get down to that last part, you really start to squeeze it out, right? We just don't think about it when our plate's full. Our opportunities at best. You're like, you know what? I got plenty. I'll still make mine. But then you start taking more and more off. And then before you look at it, now you're half of your plate's full that you then have to convert and qualify to get them to buy every single year. And each time they're getting shoveled into, who knows, will Mr. Cooper buy and start servicing that loan? Because that's the other thing, is that even your traditional loan officer, their company does not service their own loans. Yep. They sell it off. And as Mr. Cooper starts buying that data, guess what? Now it stays in that ecosystem. Mm-hmm. And they have, what did you say, an 83+% recapture rate?
That's what Rocket Mortgage is rolling out there.
83+% recapture rate. So it never comes back to you.
Yep.
Because what they're going to do is now push every product they have to them.
Well, and this you hit it on at the end with people are in so many other databases already. So you have a couple of options as an agent to talk about staying in contact with those leads. You got to spend money on good systems and good CRMs, potentially an actual human admin to help you follow up with people. You're going to have to partner with somebody and use their systems at potentially a higher split, right? Or you're going to lose some of those opportunities because you're not going to be able to compete with their marketing and their time efficiency. You're just one person, right? Or you're on a team and there's a couple of other people, but there's even gaps there compared to how huge these companies are. So as an agent, you start to see, okay, I have to be belly to belly to people. I have to be face to face. I need to do open houses. I need to do client events. Those things cost money as well. I think it's going to become increasingly difficult to do the free buyer's agent bit that has been forever, right? Where you go to an open house, you take whatever free CRM your brokerage gives you, and you work your leads to the fullest. That's cool, but you're now competing against real legitimate high-end systems that are capturing, what they say, something like 1 in every 6 deals is serviced by Mr. Cooper. Like, what? Again, that's an insane number.
It's that, and I mean, we've seen this attempted many, many times. Keller Mortgage, when Keller Williams rolled it out, they rolled out the Keller Mortgage, and they offered the no closing costs, fees. You had to use a Keller Williams agent. It had to be assigned to them, refinance or just even a purchase. And then when they went in that ecosystem, because I'd refer, when I was with Keller Williams, I'd refer some clients over there, and guess what? They continue marketing to them. Yep. And so, I still believe that the good news that we still have as agents is that, like I said, the belly to belly, they still want agents they can trust. They still want that localized relationship-based agent. And we are going to need to do our part in order to get more connected to the community, the community as a whole. and understand our unique offer, not just selling, proposition, but our unique offer proposition to our clients.
Those are great. I will tell you right now too, though, communication, right? Like the one thing that these companies are going to be able to offer is very fast and efficient response times. And if you're the type of agent, I'll be honest with you, I'm on the verge of potentially getting an opportunity because the agent, like I talked to a guy today who is so frustrated. He got a text message from his agent. This agent will only show him houses during the week, does not show him houses on the weekend. And when he reached out to her to show houses, she texted him, I'm on vacation. I can get you in Saturday. Now, look, we'll go on vacation. I'm an advocate for vacation. One, you got to find a better response than I'm on vacation. We'll do it on Saturday, right? That's terrible. That type of agent, I hope their plate is full, because if you're doing that and your plate's not full, I think that's a whole lot of arrogance on your part, right? And if somebody can go and get a multitude of Redfin agents to show them the house, and they trust that that's the best agent for them, and a really quick response on the lender side of things, because your lender doesn't respond to jack on the weekends, right? And then they get nurtured by this servicing company, which services 1 out of every 6 loans in the United States. We saw a number earlier, $2.1 trillion is what this acquisition kind of brings to the table in real estate. Right? That's insanity. So you look at all of those things together, and agents are just going to have to be more relationship based than they've probably ever been, while using AI and the tech that they can find. And that may not be for everybody. And it might be, you and I are huge fans of partnerships, right? And I've got 3 agents who are looking at partnering at EXP in place right now that I had conversations with today that I've been following up with. And I think we're going to see that more and more, that agents who are struggling, they're part of that 71% who didn't do any deals, or whatever the probably next layer of 10% who did less than 5 or 6 deals. Those are still good agents. They're going to start looking for places to land. And if you're a team leader or a broker, I think there's a lot of opportunity depending on what you offer, right? But you're going to have to understand what you're up against and understand how the lead generation moves that are being made by these huge companies and the opportunities for buyer's agents are going to change a little bit, not for everybody, right? There's still going to be 8 out of 10 people available who go online because they are in so many databases, but you're going to have to do some work. And like Gary Keller says in Shift, probably more than you've done before.
100%. And what this will do as well is create a lead generation monopoly move.
Yeah. And
more than ever, especially as we're experiencing this shifting market, the impact of Redfin plus the Rocket Mortgage plus the Mr. Cooper equals tons and tons and tons of consumer data and a pipeline of buyer intent signals, right? And so, we look at this from a buyer side of things, but realistically, this turns into an opportunity for Redfin to offer some type of listing side discount or just control the entire, they can easily flip the market share for having all this. Now, what does this do from not just a retaliation, but you run Zillow. Let's say you're the CEO of Zillow. What type of moves are you now making in order to compete with this kind of trifecta?
You've got more traffic than Redfin already, which is great. I don't know who else you would fit into the internet space from a lending perspective, right? Rocket Mortgage seems to be the big kid on the block, and then the servicer. I think the thing that Zillow has done really well is they've bought up a lot of companies that we as agents use, and they do get a lot of consumer data that way, right? The acquisition of Dotloop, I think they own Showing Time, which is like one of the showing services. So they get a lot of consumer base. I've got to imagine Zillow is over there combing all of these contracts in Dotloop for average pricing. I've got to imagine Zillow is taking all of this showing data from Showing Time, which, maybe you're losing out in some markets with Broker Bay, and you're getting that opportunity. I don't really know if anything other than platforms are going to survive, right? Brian, and you were just saying, using this word earlier, Brian was talking about compression in the real estate market always, right? And we looked at it, I think, from a commission standpoint, especially with what happened last August. But some of these moves that I think are going to make agents either have to reduce what they've traditionally wanted to charge or come with a ton more value is going to be more stuff like this. It's not going to be the DOJ screwing you over. It's not going to be NAR's piss poor leadership. It's going to be something a lot more like industry factors, like these three types of companies, or Zillow going out and acquiring something, or these real estate companies begin to merger. Because I know they said it wasn't, but I still think there's something to the Berkshire Hathaway Compass thing.
100%.
Right? Like, so we're seeing it across the board. And to bring it all the way back home to what we were talking about earlier, the agents who are like, just put your head down and do work, that is very important. But you've got to pay attention to some of the moves coming around you, because there are going to be pivots that you can make that are going to be really great, I think.
Well, again, all right, let's, I put you in the spot of being the CEO of Zillow. Now you run a real estate team, Matt, and your team is not prospecting based. It's reliant on online lead gen. It's reliant on, paying for leads.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you think that this impacts your team as a whole?
I've got to have agents on board who understand the core speed to lead is the very first thing. We have got to, like, if you're running a team like that, you have got to make contact with those leads probably within 3 to 5 minutes. And like that, you need to have some kind of round robin system that they go out to. You need to have reliable agents. You need to do the triple call the very first time, right? No voicemails. You call them 3 times, right? But you call them again later that day. Your systems have got to be buttoned up. If you don't have some sort of email sequencing going out, if you don't have some sort of Google pay-per-click, Facebook retargeting stuff going on with your leads, you're probably going to struggle to keep them in your ecosystem. Like, you're going to spend money on systems if you're not doing that already. I think it can still be super, super effective. Like anything, we're a prospecting-based team, right? We had somebody recently who didn't really enjoy the partnership because that wasn't what they wanted to do. When Brian and I had Livian, we had an agent leave, went to another team that was a lot more rainbows and sunshine and a lot more open houses, and everybody's going to have a great day. They loved it over there, right? There's something for everybody. But I do think the belly-to-belly prospecting-based stuff is always going to trump anything. But if you've got great systems and agents who are bought in, just like they have to be bought in to prospect, you're going to be fine.
When you bring up great systems, is the majority of agents and even the teams that, most teams are ran by, top down, and not as a corporate style company where independent, their CRMs and email marketing are clunky compared to Rockets, compared to just the Fortune 500 companies. And what you'll see is look, they've got more people, more resources to put into branding and marketing and messaging. We talked about this on our operational call today about the rule of 7. It takes at least 7 type of marketing pieces and marketing branding images for a consumer to even remember who you are. Rocket's doing this over and over and over already in the background.
Yep.
Now you throw in the headlines of Mr. Cooper and Redfin, when Redfin already has a name and recognition. And so they already have that head start. Mm-hmm. They don't know Nick Good and just Matt Kelderman overall.
They may not even know your brokerage, right? There's still plenty of people out there who don't know the names of a bunch of brokerages. They don't know, they know Keller Williams, maybe, locally the Century 21s and Coldwell Bankers and Remaxes that have been around for a while. But there's a lot of large brokerages here locally or even kind of nationally that are recognizable in our industry that I don't think some people would even know about. You brought up something on there that I wanted to touch on. I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, it was the marketing aspect of it. How many times have we seen people try and write their own email sequencing or their own text message sequencing? And it's terrible. Or I use ChatGPT all the time now to go in and reframe my text messages or reframe the conversation, or I tell them about a client and ask what I should say next. And the stuff that it spits out is infinitely better, right? And that comes from my poor question asking. Imagine now a company that has tons of people working on this, tons of data, tons of A/B testing to see what works out there doing this now. Again, like, how are you going to change your messaging quick enough? How are you going to get data to people? This is one of the things I like about Brivity. I had a guy, I set a listing appointment for Saturday at 11 a.m. This goes back to your rule of 7 thing. I was talking to Walker this morning and I was showing him, I was counting up the amount of touches I had made. I didn't count the market reports that it sent, which is sweet. And that probably kept him coming back. And it was my 8th touch today. And he was like, yeah, come over on Saturday. He's like, I need some advice on the stuff I need to finish before we go into May. He also potentially wants to use, he's got like $400K in equity in the house. He wants to use his equity to maybe buy before he sell. He's not sure yet. So I was able to get him over to the lender, right? Like I was able to do 2/3 of what this acquisition is doing by getting him in an ecosystem, getting him the things he needed, being efficient and quick. And I've been talking to this guy since last September, right? And he'd been being nurtured by our pond. So one, the rule of 7 is super true. And 2, being efficient and solving people's problems, which has always been key, is probably exactly what's going to end up getting me this listing purchase, which is, always feels good.
I mean, look, it goes back into the disruption isn't there yet.
Yeah.
Right. So you can start to, you need to be building your arsenal right now.
Absolutely.
You need to be building that reserve fuel tank, and you're not going to feel the pain. I mean, it's for a while. I mean, 1, the merger has to go through. 2, they've got to get their own feelings in figuring out how they're going to market and start to tweak this. There's highly paid people in charge of all of this.
Still takes time to get into people's mind share too, right? Like it's not like, again, we're so immersed in some of this sometimes that we think everybody's talking about. There's nursing and teacher Facebook pages out there with whole meme sets that I don't even understand because I'm not in those worlds, yes. Right? Like it's the same thing for us. The agents who build strong brands, the agents who follow up really well. I think this is where agents will lose future opportunity that's not showing up right now, right? They end up not following up with people. Like you said, Mr. Cooper gets in their ear. They go to a Redfin site to get an evaluation or something. And now all of a sudden your marketing is just, if it's even being done at all, it gets shut down pretty quickly just in the sheer volume of stuff that they're getting that's helpful and personalized.
Well, and it's confusing, right? Like, look, email marketing and marketing in general, we're not good at. Yeah. You probably don't have a degree in this.
It's expensive too.
Expensive, don't have a degree. We're not disciplined and consistent with it. That is the problem in our industry. Like if you go and ask anybody within any of our sales organization, what do they say? They call the new leads when they first come in. They're pretty decent at that. Where do they drop the ball? Follow up.
Always.
Where do they drop the ball for past clients? Checking in, follow up. They just don't do it. They don't put any systems in place, and it has to get developed, and it has to be, somewhat of it has to be automated. We don't like the automations because it doesn't sound like us, but we don't take the time to go build it out to make it sound like us, because we get too busy with other things, or we just don't think we're good at it, or we put it off to the side and it's not as important right now. And so then it never gets done. And then what you end up doing is then you just throw the generic stuff on there that makes 0 sense.
Because you're like, I might as well send them something.
Yes.
I'm going to lose them if I don't.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it's all over the place. It's doesn't make sense. It doesn't work. And what you will start to see more and more of is this word that I can't say very well, platformification.
Nice. That's it.
There we go. I'm going to have to learn it. And kind of the idea behind this is you'll see, it's kind of a broader move where platforms start to grow, and think of a team or a mega team above that, one step above, like a brokerage, but acting as more of that teamerage type setup. And, I think we see Zillow. I believe we see Zillow somewhat get in this game on that side, on the brokerage side. I'm surprised we haven't seen them buy or try to go after any type of brokerage out there. I don't
feel like they have the agent thing figured out at all. Like nobody thinks of agents when they think of Zillow. And I feel like that's a huge hurdle to overcome. And that Rocket and Redfin exclusively had was the name brand household recognition of specifically what they were bought for. Zillow, I just can't, like you said, I can't think of what they could acquire from a brokerage perspective that would do much when it comes to that.
You think of other platforms like Side. And I don't think Side has the community. I don't know it that well. So, this is just kind of my opinion and just minor opinion in it because I don't know much about it. But, they go and invest in large real estate teams where the teams can keep their own branding and then help them on the technology piece of it. Maybe that's great.
Berkshire Hathaway does that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what they do. Like I've always looked at Berkshire Hathaway kind of as like the Persians, right? They come in and they take over a place. Like you can keep your gods and your religion. You keep your gods and your religion, but we own you now. You will pay us money. Like that's how they just come along and they're like, Ebby Halliday, run the same way you've ran for the past 100 years. We just want to own you.
But do they market to your clients automatically?
I'm sure they bring some value to the table.
I don't know. I know Compass has I've heard the Compass agents love it and great back end platform. I just don't know, from the automation is how do you continue to reach out? Because again, Zillow is going to eventually do it. We know Rocket Mortgage is going to start doing that, and Redfin and that combo, whatever they're calling that trifecta, if they change up the names. But we know, again, Place, we're biased. So right here, Place is a platform, in 2020 valued at over $1 billion, and Ben Kinney and Chris Suarez, amazing visionaries and leaders and founders, kind of saw this, everything needs to be all in one place.
Yep.
And as they've continued to evolve and grow, I'm sure there's been growing pains, and we've seen it, felt it. But what they're incorporating in is kind of what we're already seeing with Rocket Mortgage and the Redfin and the Mr. Cooper experiences. You got to keep it in your own ecosystem. You cannot let it get out and escape. And you've got to start building in the marketing automations, the reminders, the texting, the client events, everything.
I can give a real world example of a buyer that literally got pre-qualified today, that from end to end, I would not have been able to get there by myself. She was being nurtured by the CRM. She had listing alerts going to her, and she had AI that re-sparked the conversation. This was last September. I take over the conversation, start nurturing her through Brivity. She ends up deciding she wants to talk to a lender. I click a button inside there and get her over to James. There's no scenario, that would have been way more clunky and awkward had I just had to piece that all together and figure it out. I most likely would have lost her somewhere in the initial lead come in and the follow-up in between, because that's typically what tends to happen when you're flying completely solo. Got her over to James, which is at Envoy Mortgage, which is a partner of Place as well. Everything was able to stay in-house. Everything was seamless. They're pre-qualified, ready to start looking at homes in the next couple of months. And that's all. I mean, granted, I picked up the phone and did lead generation, right? But all of the things that came next were all in-house, end-to-end. And probably what will happen, there's no title company to send it to, but by the time I get to the end of this, it'll most likely be a very smooth transaction, because all of this stuff was connected. All the people are involved. The communication is a high level, and the client will feel that and most likely use me again down the road.
Yes. There's a title company. There is. To keep it end to end, but you haven't seen, we haven't seen that yet in the rest of the play. That would complete the cycle. Plus you integrate home services in there, the home concierge and home services, where you can offer repairs, handyman, insurance.
And there's the insurance, like the insurance side of things. There's the transaction coordination side of things. Like there's still parts of this that Redfin and Rocket Mortgage don't own, right? They're not the end-to-end part probably wouldn't make sense for a lot of companies to own every piece of it, because there's some of it that just I can't imagine is super profitable. But I think that's exactly what you're seeing. Is you're seeing Place as the real estate version of what we're seeing at this larger level, where they're trying to focused on real estate agents, bringing all of this end-to-end stuff that agents can use to provide a better experience so they can do what they need to do, which is stay the trusted advisor, so they can compete with the Redfins, Rocket Mortgages, and all of that, because that's how you're going to do it, as being the one that your clients think about. And you can use automation and partnership to do that more effectively.
What is the Papa John saying? Better pizza, better experience, better
pizza, better prices.
Something like that.
I don't think they say that anymore now that Shaq owns it.
Oh, really?
I think that was the old dude who got in trouble for being
Was Shaq owning it? We just say
Shaq owns it now.
He owns all Papa John's?
I think he owns I don't know, look it up. Shaq owns so much stuff.
Yeah.
He owns so much stuff. But yeah, I think he owns Papa John's. I don't know what percentage, or he's part of a group. What is it?
No, he only owns 9 Papa John's.
Okay, he only owns 9 of them.
Yeah.
All right.
He's a franchise owner. So, but think about this, Jesse, if you go back to number 4 here, here's the play. Rocket Mortgage wants to own the full life cycle, not just the mortgage experience. So that means for us, whether you're an agent or a lender, that means more competition between traditional real estate brokerages, means more competition with tech forward companies. And now they're going to have vertically integrated monsters like Rocket plus Redfin plus Mr. Cooper. So we've got to be prepared. And the way that we do that is through the opportunities for agents to adapt.
Yes.
Right? How often do you see agents that, I know agents that don't even really have a website.
Oh, yeah. I don't know I've in my 12 years, the way I've done business has probably changed 3 or 4 times. I don't now it's been necessary at least 2 times because it wasn't running very efficiently before. But yeah, I don't really understand that. And offering something, whether it's some sort of concierge style service or partnering with somebody who can bring that to the table for you, that's going to be huge for agents.
By the way, Rocket Companies, they do own a title company they bought called Amrock, which is now called Rocket Close. And they also own Rocket Title Insurance Company, previously known as Amrock Title Insurance Company.
Okay, so
Arctic.
We're screwed.
So
they own it all. We're done.
I mean, they don't have home insurance yet, so we can rush to go get our insurance license.
Yeah, I'll go.
We're adaptable. We're like the agents. Jesse, if you go back to that other screen for me here, that's the our opportunity for agents is we just got to be adaptable.
Yeah,
right. This isn't. We look at this and it sounds bad. And it's not if you just lean into the change. And for some of you, the change will be maybe I should just go apply at Rocket Companies. And if you don't want to be killed off, just join them. You said, the Persians.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. Just join us. Give us the head of your king.
Yeah.
Don't get kicked in a Spartan hole, whatever.
But it's more about, again, you build a strong personal brand. And, this is the annoying part for me, at least, because I really, really dislike social media as a whole. I find it awful. I don't even love scrolling on it much anymore. Heather will say otherwise, but it feels more like it's I have to do it for work and be on there. But if building a personal brand is what's going to work. Yeah. And it's going to be done through social media. It's going to be done through creating that voyeuristic type branding, so people feel like they know Matt Kelderman, Nick Good, Brian Force, Jesse Showalter here at tourstudios.com.
Yep.
Right. And the concierge level of services, which that is a lot of work in itself too.
That is a whole, we were literally talking about an agent that we know that has this 50% dialed in.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, it's hard. It's a hard thing to build. It's a hard thing to maintain. It's lead generation like anything else. There's going to be days you don't want to do it. There's going to be content that sucks. There's going to be disappointment with it, right? Like there's all of those things. So it's like even offering that concierge style service through the luxury model or the way you follow up. Now, slight side note, I will say there are some things that you can do that will appeal very concierge, right? Like following up with your client when the title commitment comes in and actually explaining it to them, right? Following up about the appraisal when you're the listing agent so your client knows when it's coming in and they know when it's appraised. Doing things that I will tell you traditionally agents don't do, right? They get their deal under contract, they check a couple of the dates, they make sure certain things go by. But a lot of agents aren't really adhering to those dates and providing a level of service to whatever client they're working for by keeping them informed, remembering this is a stressful thing for them. That alone could make some people's business feel very concierge.
Do you know how I believe it starts though? Right? You start with the end in mind and how you start it, I believe is how it's also going to finish is that, now with the NAR lawsuit and having to have buyer's reps, unless you're in Alabama and that kind of change.
That's weird to me. But
what that has hopefully forced agents to do, other than just saying, here, Jesse, sign this buyer's rep. You have to sign this before it's the law, right? And you got to sign this before I go show. Hopefully you do a presentation.
Yes.
And for the majority of us, Matt, I know you're one of them. You didn't do a lot of presentations. You basically just, try to charm your way into getting them to hire you, to use you, whatever. And you should be studying a presentation that is going to set you up, that answer that goes over the objections, where at the end of that presentation, with whether it's a buyer experience guide or a selling experience guide, that it takes them from point A to point B, and point B is signing that representation agreement, whether it's listing or buyer's rep.
I had 50% of it right. I was doing the connection part. I was winning at connection. I wasn't building trust though. I wasn't building the trust that I had all of the systems, even though I knew that, I did. I wasn't informing them that I was the person for them to trust. And the connection part was great. And I don't want, because here's what's going to happen with the Redfin stuff. They're going to win on convenience every time. you have to win on connection. And take it from me, you cannot just be like cool bartender guy. You need to be able to show them that you can get their house sold. You need to show them that you can save them money on the purchase. You need to understand the mortgage side of things better so you can have a better conversation when advising them. You know, video content is probably going to be helpful in making connection, but they are absolutely going to beat you on the people who just want it as convenient as possible. You're probably going to struggle to make it as convenient as they can make it, but they are going to lose almost every time if you have a real solid connection with somebody and have nurtured that connection over time. Those people will be less inclined to leave you.
By the
Those
way,
agents are going to win.
What I've noticed is anytime that we've shortcutted it and we didn't do it and set proper and clear expectations, that we didn't follow our protocols, like, you know, when I'm working with a client, I always send a video overview through Loom of the contract, explaining it, the repair negotiations, whatever it may be, the inspection report. And that is a level of service that the majority of agents won't do. They won't take the time. They'll do it maybe.
No. There's a lot of them that would not. I'm telling you right now, there's a lot, just those three things you just said, explaining the contract efficiently, discussing repair negotiations in a way that's replayable, right? Most agents, I don't think would be able to do that. And when I say most, I bet you I'm 40, 50%.
Well, that
would not be able to do that effectively.
That, and they don't do it consistently.
Yeah.
Right. Where you follow it, that is your protocol, that if you break, you feel like you're cheating the system. And it's a different level of service. My brother-in-law and sister-in-law are buying another home with me, and they bought 5 houses in the Northeast, and they live in New York City. And they've said those agents, those brokers up there don't do any of the service here.
No,
they're not fun to work with. They're jerks, right? Arrogant.
Privilege to work
yes.
with them.
And it's just a different level of experience. And then, you know, the opportunity for agents to stay top of mind with their clients after the sale, you know, something that we are starting to incorporate this, and this is just recent over the last, you know, few months. We're still in beta with it. This is going to be mind blowing of doing this, sending a handwritten note. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
I've had people tell me I should do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then building it as a future automated system so that you can personalize it, but it's done through your CRM.
Yeah.
By the way, we have that here at that place. Not trying to bring you over here, but if you want to, reach out to Matt. I definitely would highly recommend it. But if you say top of mind through social media, through email, we're doing like client events.
The client event's huge, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and you don't have to do a lot. We do, right? We have one coming up. We rent out the whole Dallas Zoo.
That's bananas to me still that we do that.
Yes. It's insane.
I've done a lot of client events, and I've sat in a room across this hall and not really called anybody and invited them to them. Not because I didn't believe in the event. This is so ridiculous. Like, I get so jazzed to call my clients. Like, I'm oddly proud of the fact that I'm the conduit to offering that to them, because I'm like, who gets to go to the zoo when not everyone else is there? It's rad.
Yeah. And you don't, like, we do one a year now. Yep. Like, you try to get more and more in. I'm not an event planner. I'm not good at that. Nope. So we do one massive one a year. It's talked about and great. And it gives you a reason to follow up. And then the last part of it kind of is the throws in the rest of it with what's happening in this industry is understanding the mortgage conversations. Yep. And really partnering with local lenders who can compete. But I would take that a step up above in saying, it's more about you getting highly involved and having an opportunity through hopefully the platform, or, if you're not willing to look at a team, maybe a top tier brokerage that has that ownership in there and a mortgage, in a mortgage business. Yep. That maybe you can eventually start earning some revenue off of. And it's more about protecting your long-term interests. Maybe it's not about making a whole bunch of money right now. You can increase your revenue per client. But it's more about protecting your future, your future income in case things start getting, compressed, or that, hopefully it keeps that data in that ecosystem so that you don't lose them to Mr. Cooper and that 83, 87, whatever it is, 80 plus recapture rate. And now Mr. Cooper on the refinance is not sending, is keeping it with their lender. and then checking to see if they want to sell their house, and they'll get them over to one of their Rocket, Redfin, Arctic closing, companies.
Well, you better figure out your team, because Redfin and Rocket Mortgage have figured out their team. If you think Redfin agents aren't going to refer Rocket Mortgage, you're just stupid, right? Like, they're going to.
Yeah.
You need to find a lender who is communicative. You need to find a lender, if they can't get a deal done, they explain to you why. There are deals out there that can't get done. Maybe you're grinding on terrible leads and you're sending them people who just aren't going to qualify with anybody, right? They need to be able to convey to you, though, what exactly is going on there. Like, you need to have a lender partner that you can count on. And I think, one, if you don't, reach out to us. We've got a great person for you to talk to. But more importantly, it's, if you don't have your team right, when we talk about that concierge level service, who are you going to go to find these things out? If you don't have a lender, I reached out to James today and to talk to him about this guy who has this equity. I said, I need to understand. I said, it sounds like a bridge loan, but nobody calls them bridge loans anymore. So give me some options that you have so I can talk to him about this tomorrow. That was in my inbox an hour later, right? Like, there's no reason not to have a partner who's that serious about their business as you are. If you're sending them clients, you're sending opportunity, even if it's not landable opportunity right now, and they need to, you need to have a relationship with them that reflects that.
It's all about the relationship, Matt.
But it really is. And maybe I'm too sympathetic in this, but I want to see my people win all the time. So if you're somebody in my world, I'm going to attempt to get everything I can in your direction, especially because I know I don't partner with hacks. It's not that I have to worry about, like, oh, is this person going to do this or not? Those people don't survive long in my world.
Well, now it's time to top grade.
Yeah.
Right. And you could get away with it during the hot COVID market. That's gone. And now it's time to top grade. And it's time to analyze the future and potentially where this industry is headed. Have a serious look at it, and maybe set your ego aside. When I made the decision, that was the first step. But when I made the decision to partner, our team with Place, I had to understand, the same way that our agent partners have to understand, that there's a different commission split. I have the same thing when I took my team over to Place. Guess what? I have a different, profit split.
Yep.
Right. It's a lot less than what I was making before, but the growth opportunities have been amazing. The opportunities for our agent partners have been amazing. The insurance that we can offer, the revenue share that we can offer, not including, the revenue share brokerage that we're part of.
Yep.
The future wealth building opportunities. So when we look at all this, as you set your ego aside and say, all right, what do I really want out of this? What's my long-term goals? Where do I think this is headed? If this all goes to hell in a handbasket, what am I going to do? Like you said, you're not going back to bartending.
No. I got so excited. I got an email today about some revenue share coming through. I got an email yesterday that I get an opportunity to buy stock. They sent me a little thing being like, hey, here's what your buy-in is for this month. One, that was awesome, because I was like closing deals when you get these opportunities. So that's always cool. But then to see it, it's like, I know what that $1,300, $1,400 that I'm going to put into that, I know what that represents down the road. So that's super exciting.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I had 4 opportunities at different streams hit my world that this month that I can tell you right now. In, let's see, when did I partner with you? January of 24. Yes.
Yep.
That in December of 23, when I was coming out of a team and soloing it and being like, oh, this is great. None of those opportunities existed, weren't on the horizon, were not a possibility. And now they show up every month.
And bartending didn't give that to you either.
Bartending didn't give that
drinks, but
I can throw some drinks together.
I'll tell you, I can't go back to pizza delivering because the robots are doing it now.
You're done.
They're just delivering it down the streets in that little robot cart.
Plus, I'm just going to Papa Murphy's every day and getting the unbaked one and going home and throwing it.
No, man, I don't know. Then you have stuff to cook it yourself.
Yeah,
no.
I love it. It's so good.
Look, you got as many kids as I do, and I'm not doing that with 4 kids. Pass. Because you're still spending almost as much as just getting it delivered.
You're absolutely right.
And you're cooking it.
I crock potted chicken bones yesterday to make chicken stock, so I'm starting to look ridiculous over there.
Homesteader Kelderman. So, all right, episode 239 in the books. Hopefully this was a good one for you. Hopefully you learned a lot. Please tag an agent, share this out. We're running a test on this to see more about not going live anymore. Mm-hmm. And we'll post this in the only podcast worth listening to on that Facebook page. I've never said that one before.
He hasn't done that in a while.
It will also be in the only real estate group worth being a part of, on our YouTube channel, on Spotify, and on Apple Podcasts. So leave us a review, hit that subscribe button, and just comment, share, tell us what you think.
Let us know if we should do it like this again. I don't know.
See you next time.
Later, suckers.
Hey, thank you for watching. We truly appreciate it. Checking out another episode of the only real estate podcast worth listening to. If you're watching this on YouTube, please go ahead, hit that share button, hit that like button, and hit the subscribe button. Right? We're dropping more stuff on YouTube constantly. If you're on iTunes, leave us a review, please. We're really, really focused on building up those reviews so we can get more searchable content on there. And if you're on Facebook, like everyone else is, go over and search the only real estate group worth being a part of. You're going to want to go join that group. I'm telling you right now, there's so much gold in there. So go join, share us on YouTube, and leave us that iTunes review. Please go do it right now. We'll see you on the next show.